CAPTA meetings, am I saying that right?
SAPA.
Yeah, are those public meetings subject to the Brown Act?
Thank you, Brad. That's a really good point. Yeah, SAPA meetings are public meetings. They are subject to the Brown Act. Agendas are issued. Agendas are posted. Notice of the meeting is posted. And I believe in the document I passed out. They're posted.
You used to have them at the fire station during working hours.
Right. The meetings are held at the Salida Elementary School District boardroom, and the notice is posted. I thought I had written it down in here. Glasses on.
I mean, I've never seen that posted at the library or
Yeah,
anything like
it's
that.
posted at the school district at Salida Elementary. It's posted, I know, at Modesto City Schools. It's typically posted. It's supposed to be posted at the library as well.
Or the post office.
Yeah, post office or the library.
Could you send an announcement for the meetings to the?
Absolutely.
You send it to the MAC, we'll put it at the post office. Right?
Sure. And also and at this point again, there's only 2 meetings a year, so
When's the next meeting?
the next meeting is going to be June
7th.
7th. Okay, it'll be June 7th.
Okay, Debbie Schneider, you had a question.
Yeah. Thank you for coming tonight, first of all. I know it can be pleasant. But if you could clarify the board and
Yeah, we want to know
who
who those people
elected the
are.
board and who does the board represent? Do you represent Stafford? Do you represent the residents of Salida? Because the one thing I have heard tonight is that if the board decides somewhere down the road to lower taxes and extend the tax again, apparently we have nothing to say about that. We're just kind of stuck with tacking another 10 years or whatever on. So who elected the board? Is this a lifetime assignment for you all? Or,
How do we
and
fire
who
you?
exactly do you represent?
Okay.
Who has our interest?
Okay. I'll try to answer that. And the answer is SAPA, the Salida Mello Roos District, is a joint powers authority. And a joint powers authority, this one was created in 1988 by the Salida Sanitary District, who has 2 members. 2 of the Salida Sanitary District members are authorized to sit on this board.
And who said?
And they're appointed, right?
I'm sorry? In 1988, when the Joint Powers Authority was established, and there are reams of documentation that there's a process that has to go through, there's public votes that occur at the time, and it established the formation documents. And I'm happy to give anyone any of that information if you want it. That's the way it is forever. In 1988, it was established, the Joint Powers Authority said what elected officials would make up this new joint entity, which again was 2 from the sanitary district, elementary district, high school district, fire district, and county. County is a member, but they don't sit in the seat. We're not on the board. We're not elected officials. We are paid staff members. I work for Modesto City Schools, as does Dwayne, and part of our job duties is to administer. So we're responsible for the day-to-day operations. When somebody wants to call and complain about their taxes that they didn't know were on their tax bill, they call Dwayne or I. So we are paid staff members that work for Modesto City Schools, okay? And part of our jobs is staff to the Salida Area Public Facilities Financing Agency, along with the staff at the Salida Elementary School District. Why it was set up this way, I can tell you again, I wasn't there in 1988, but I can tell you that the folks in existence at the time felt that the school districts had the expertise, if you will, and the people that would be able to sustain this in a lawful manner, that they would do the things, do the right things, make sure the tax roll was done properly, accurately, did the appropriate audits that were required by law. This entity is audited every year because it is a public entity and we are a public agency. So why it was set up that way, that was the decisions that were made at the time. And yeah, that's kind of a standard way to do it, to assign administrative duties to the groups that make up the Joint Powers Authority. And we share duties because there's a division of duties so that it isn't only Modesto High School District, i.e. Modesto City Schools, paying the bills, if you will, that we share those duties with the the business officials at the Salida Elementary School District, so that it's, a division of duties.
And then just one other quick follow-up. Would you do something differently down the road that you did in 2011 as far as making a decision that affects the taxpayers in the community where apparently we had no input, no knowledge? Or could this happen again and we wouldn't know?
So, again, the answer to that is there was no new tax created. There was no additional taxes placed on the properties. The tax rates were lowered. The elected officials have the authority to lower the tax. They don't have the authority to raise the tax without lots of other complications. So would we do something different in the future? You know, that's up to the elected officials that are on the SAPCA board, but I can tell you that over the years, that the feedback that they get, that they share with us as the staff folks, is folks want this tax to go away or be lowered. And, you know, the ability to do that is dependent upon, you know, the capital markets. And again, we're always looking for ways to save the taxpayers' money, lower the taxes. So the elected officials are two from the Sanitary District Board, which is Ms. Moore is one of them. We have Mr. Ruska from the Fire District Board. We have Mr. Grembo from the Modesto High School District Board. And we have, again, I keep forgetting her name because she's new, from the Salida Elementary District. Fox is the last name? Last name is Fox. I forget her first name. And those are the folks that make up the SAPA Joint Powers Authority Board.
Do they draw a salary?
No.
Is that the question, though, that you want to know the answer to, is who is the SAFA board now, or do you want to know who the SAFA board was in 2011?
Well, or in 89.
Because they're different boards.
All they do now is pay the bills. They just get together and pay that bond bill.
If they originally elected these people that do this,
If like us,
that passed on to the next elected officials down the line.
If 200 people move out of Salida, let's say next month, and now you're not getting that property tax on revenue, does this 20, 30 day get extended because now 500 people moved out of town?
The money's still on the property tax. It gets paid by.
It goes with the
raise.
property.
It's gonna- Okay.
Yeah, it's a,
Supervisor has to pay for it.
yeah.
So if the house has been sell for 5 years,
Debbie,
Geez, this is worse than the IRS.
Debbie Nutt.
It's a tax.
Debbie
It's
Nutt.
tax.
Yeah, no, she said there wasn't no new taxes, so that $1,100 is not money.
Debbie Nutt.
I was here in 1988. There was hardly anybody living in Salida, so I get, you know, that what they did was created a board, although back in 1988, we were not happy about Melrose. Well, we weren't. I was at the meeting that Mr. Martin is referring to, and I do remember 2013 being mentioned. Then, you know, it seems like, I think the developers need to be held accountable for lying, but I'm going to say it because I'm from Central West, bright lies, no matter where they're at. SNC lies, no matter where he's at. So, I don't trust developers. I don't trust most real estate agents. I think that it is your guys' responsibility, maybe not you, but SAPA, that real estate agents need to be retrained in this area. Because my son and his wife just bought a house, they won't touch a house that has Mello Roos, they were not informed, they had to look it up. So, my question is, you lowered the taxes, Brad keeps saying $1,000, well, hello, it's $1,700 a year.
I mean, you're paying, Mello Roos like $1,000 on top of that.
It's $1,700 a year for Mello Roos.
Actually, the highest tax is $1,000.
Oh, mine's over $1,000.
Mine's 1,100.
Hey, come on now. Come on. All of your taxes are going to be different. You know why? It's based on the square footage of your property.
She shouldn't have said
No,
what
not
you
the
just
Mello
said.
Roos.
No, it
You got a
is.
60 or you got a 90.
Am I right? Is it based on the square footage? It's based on the square footage. All of your taxes are going to be different.
It's a
Why
60
didn't
or
you
a
say
90.
nothing
There was
over
no
Let's
in
let Dwayne
between.
answer the question. Dwayne's got the tax.
And every
bill right
dang
there.
one of us are paying 90.
The highest tax amount paid is $1,076.56.
Not
That's the highest
1,700.
tax paid.
So
She's
That's the
definitely-
lowered amount.
We
that's the
could,
lowered amount.
we could assess you 2,000,
So would I get paid it off in 15 years like I
but
was
we,
told?
That was not a
we've
revolution.
been able to, you know, keep the tax down.
And we're happy to look at your tax bill too, because there's a lot of confusion with the tax bills, especially in Salida, because there's so many folks
So
on
I
there.
think the question that a lot of people have tried to get answered, and I'm just going to plain say it.
Sure.
2 or 3 years down the road, you want to lower it again and extend it years. Are you
No, no,
going
no.
to do that?
Let me stop. Everybody's got a big confusion.
Clear
We
up.
have not extended the number of years. It's been to 2030 since we issued the debt in 2001. When we refinanced it, the end date was still 2030 because by law, we can't extend it. Okay, it's 2030 is the end date. We can't extend it beyond that.
And I understand what you're saying, Dwayne. What I'm trying to, all of us were led to believe in 2013, 14, 15, it was done.
You know, and it's unfortunate. It is one of the great challenges of our jobs is to counteract. There's only 2 of us, and Sue Talcott at the Salida School District and some of their staff. So there's maybe 4 or 5 of us that are involved in SAP Fund and understand it. To counteract the actions of many folks and many resales, it's, you know, kind of like the CHP and Sheriff's Office standing here telling you they don't have enough folks. I'm not saying I don't have enough folks, but I'm saying that there's, you know, 70 housing transactions a day, or there's maybe 50 a day or a month. There's maybe 50 housing transactions a day in northern Stanislaus County. For us to, we have no ability to track those and to make sure that folks are disclosing the right things. The title companies also need to be held responsible. Title, that is the very core of what they are supposed to do, is to give you complete disclosure on what is in the properties that you're buying. And unfortunately, the caliber of the folks at the title companies,
It's like a rubber stamp now.
they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I hope you understand our frustration.
Absolutely, we hear it when the tax bills go out twice a year. We're on the phones all day long, trying to answer, trying to help folks understand their tax bills. And again, we're happy to look at your tax bill tonight, tomorrow. Give us a call. We've got cards. We'll leave with you. We'll walk you through it. All of the taxes on your tax bill are not the Salida Area Public Facilities Financing Agency. There's going to be bonds and other special CSA, other special taxing entities. Again, Salida is a little more complex than the average bear. You've got a lot of public entities needing to place their individual taxes on your tax bill because this is not an incorporated community.
But now
So-
you're going to know when you leave here that Salida people don't sit back and just sit there.
Well, let me, you know, Dwayne and I both worked for Modesto City Schools since 2000. This is not a surprise. This doesn't come as a surprise to us. We get a lot of questions on special taxes, and because it's kind of complicated. And doesn't mean we can't do our best to explain it. We're doing our best to explain it, and we're doing our best to provide you the information so that you do understand.
I think you've explained it fine. I just think that it's handled is not being handled properly. You're doing a fine job of explaining it, that we're screwed, you know, but I'm saying that we should be able to talk to these board members.
You absolutely
and
should.
They shouldn't be able to make these decisions without consulting the constituents in the area, because I would have much rather paid $40 more a month to pay off my tax bill 8 years earlier. You know, and it shouldn't have been their arbitrary decision just to make that call with some constituents who talk to some people. Do you have a list of those people they talk to? Can somebody document that information?
At the end of the day, the board is tasked with the financing responsibilities for SAPFA. And, you know, I'm not going to say that they had, you know, spoke to 20 folks and out of 50 folks, 25 said, you know, or 30 said, you know, lower the tax, don't lower the term. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. You really need to speak to the individual board members, because that's the direction they gave staff. They wanted to provide relief to the taxpayer sooner rather than later, and that's the decision that was
So
made.
Becky and Dwayne, could we ask of you though that when you go back to the SAFA board, and obviously Lana's been through the whole meeting so she knows, but could you communicate to the board that, you know, this is what you heard from at Salida MAC, that the Salida community wants communication. Don't make any decisions on behalf of them without more broad communication, even if it includes a mailer and whatever social media is possible, anything at all to communicate it to the whole community, because that's what I hear from you, is that you had a real lack of communication in 2011 for that to be communicated to you.
Vicki, thank you for bringing this out. You know, we all feel we're screwed. And I feel the broker, was talking to you, as you know where, excuse my French, but I don't appreciate that, because now our house payment's going up, and we're trying to figure out how many we're supposed to get to refinance along the way, because of medical things with my husband. So it's like, we're really screwed. He had to go back to work. He just had a double lung transplant, you know, and so 5 years ago. So I mean, we had to refinance our house and all that. So I don't appreciate, you know, the broker. Our guy was broke. And look, I asked him 100 times, "Can you tell me?" I said, "Are you telling me the truth?" "Yes, Kathy, I am. This is now it's going to be 10 years." And everybody except for all in this room and our neighborhood and everywhere else.
Everybody's been lied to.
But thank you for bringing it up. The clarity has come out tonight. I appreciate it. Because every time we ask, nobody tells us. Diddly squat.
Well, you're welcome to call us anytime, and, you know, it's, again, we do the best we can to talk to folks and to explain taxes, and Lord knows people don't like to talk about taxes, but it's a necessary evil it's important that everybody who owns a home understands how taxes work, understands the difference between an ad valorem tax and a special tax and a general tax, and so that when, as Supervisor Withrow said, there are consequences to elections, so when people put certain things on ballots, and those things turn into taxes, so.
So you're saying that it won't go up anymore? It's gonna stay Mello Roos will stay exactly the same?
Yes.
It's not gonna go up 2% or 4%?
No.
But the other part of your tax.
Well,
The other taxes will.
Well, that's a whole different matter that they're not here for, so.
I have to override, because again, we have to put our disclaimers, okay? Our intent is for it not to increase. If, as, well, the gentleman left, if we had 500 people, 500 homes suddenly vacate, and now nobody's paying the tax on those 500 homes, we're probably going to have to increase the tax a little bit in order to cover those 500 homes until there's people in them.
But that's a catastrophic,
That's a catastrophic
situation that I've never seen.
If we don't have a catastrophic situation, our intent is to keep it at this, in fact, trying to lower it.
Is there any option for us just to pay the bill?
No.
Make it over with?
No, you know, there's some Mello Roos CFDs in other counties that were structured such that there was an early payoff, the developer could make a payoff in the beginning, but these ones weren't structured that way. So, and Catherine just brought up a good point I wanted to say real quickly. In the event, like during the foreclosure crisis, when there were a number of foreclosures in this community and others, our delinquency rate stayed very, very low, and that's because when banks own property, they pay their taxes. So a situation that Dwayne described, Dwayne's a CPA, so he always has to hold me accountable for things that I say that might be a little broad-reaching. Again, that's a very catastrophic situation. I've never seen it in my decades of being around this business.
So from 2000
Actually, she
to 2007, when we had the burst, how many homes were built during that time?
Jerry, hush. Somebody else is already talking.
Is there anything
Somebody else
that
had their hand up
can get
first.
word in writing that by law it will have to end in 2030? You said that if by law it has to end by 2030, correct?
Correct.
Is that in writing anywhere?
It should be in your paperwork when you bought your house. I know I bought my house in 2009. My real estate agent didn't tell me about Mello Roos. I actually went and pulled county tax records myself to see what my taxes would be. I know that's not the same for everybody, but I saw it was like $3,000 a year. I asked my financial lady and she told me about Mello Roos. When I signed my closing documents on my house, the lady said, "Here's your Mello Roos paperwork. Go and read this if you ever need to fall asleep at night because it'll put you to sleep." Her exact words. I actually went through and read them, all the paperwork when I signed my house, and it's in there. That's it, and it says 2030.
Okay. The bottom of my home flooded and everything in the bottom of my home flooded, the records and everything. So is there any place else I can get that?
county would have it, right? The county should have it.
Well, I mean, number one is we can point, we can point back to law that says when the tax has to end. And in it there it says that when the bonds are paid off, that's when the tax must end. So I can point to law. I can't reference it right now. I don't know that off the top of my head.
We can pull together a packet for
But
you.
we can pull all that information.
Yeah, just give us,
writing
yeah.
in 2030.
Just give us your contact information. And we'll do our best.
Okay, I'd like to thank Becky and Dwayne for coming tonight and answering all the questions.
Thank you for having us.
So feel free to get their contact info after the meeting, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So, stand